So there could be, in a single instance of a Hadoop cluster, there could be tens of millions of files. It need not be just one file. It could be tens of millions of large files. And one more thing, it's important to understand that Hadoop cluster is more like write once and read many. So you write once and read many times. It could be Apache log files. It could be log files related to enterprise data systems. It could be data warehousing files that are just put in there. So it is write once and read many times. And this assumption simplifies a lot of things, because we are not going to change the file once created in the Hadoop file system. But later on in MapReduce version 2, they're trying to come up with a mechanism for appending a file with some more data. So that will be there later. So mostly, this kind of paradigm, Hadoop file system plus the MapReduce model, is used in web crawler applications, because web crawler can go crawl the web, multiple websites, get the documents, put it in the cluster, and then start using it. So that's where it is useful. Now we have to understand that in MapReduce version 2, they have generalized this framework in such a way that MapReduce is just one application. So in MapReduce version 2, they have Hadoop file system has not changed, because the cluster needs storage. The cluster needs scalable storage. That is still remaining, but the way that MapReduce work or designed is slightly changed, in MapReduce version 2. But it's going to be a while before it becomes beta. Right now it is in alpha stage. So not only that it supports MapReduce, the framework in MapReduce version 2 will help people to build real-time applications on the top of MapReduce version 2. So that is the goal. Okay, and the other thing that MapReduce version 2 solves is, we are discussing about MapReduce version 1 only, but I just want to mention it here, the high availability of name node. So if the name node crashes, then in MapReduce version 1, the file system will be down. So yes, we can have some mechanism in place in MapReduce version 1, but that is the framework itself was not having the high availability. So in MapReduce version 2, they have introduced the name node high availability. Okay. So these are the features of Hadoop file system: highly fault tolerant, high throughput, suitable for application with a large data set, streaming access to file system data, can be built out of commodity hardware. So we're not looking at expensive hardware. We're looking at commodity hardware. So there is one more word that you will hear very often. You might be asked in interviews, is JBOD. JBOD. So JBOD means just a bunch of disks, right? So that's what it is. So Hadoop cluster is or will support just a bunch of disks. What it means is that you can keep adding disk to a machine and you can keep increasing the capacity. That's what it means. Okay. So we've seen this. It's suitable for very large files, optimized for high throughput and commodity hardware. It's not fit for lots of small files. It's not fit for low latency access. So if someone is looking for very fast data access rather than the bandwidth. Okay, so there is a difference between how fast we can access data versus how much data you can get in one shot. Right, so if I'm looking for, let's say, a single file and I'm looking for instant read, it's not possible. But if you're looking for a 3 GB file and you're trying to look at high aggregate bandwidth, then this is the right fit. Okay. And if you're having multiple writers into the same file and arbitrary file modifications, this is not suited. So fault tolerance, we have seen that by dividing the file into blocks and by duplicating the blocks across the data nodes, effectively Hadoop file system has achieved the fault tolerance. So this is what we have seen. We have seen HDFS blocks. So you have to remember, generally there is another question that people will ask: what is the difference between a disk block and a HDFS block? So HDFS block is the block size or the data size that is used in the Hadoop file system for reading and writing, blocks. But when you give this block to your disk, your operating system disk driver, will deal with generally 512 bytes per block. So when you do a write onto the disk, even if you write a single byte, it will actually allocate 512 bytes of hard disk space, so that it can easily read and write 512 bytes. So there are places where you can so this is the disk block, and then the file system, there is also a file system block, right? The difference between these three is important. So one is the disk block, where the hard disk will be reading and writing onto the disk with 512 bytes generally, and on the top of that, operating system will be using file system blocks, which is generally 4 kilobytes or 8 kilobytes. So when I write, let's say write a file onto file system, it is more efficient to write about 4 kilobytes or 8 kilobytes of data at one time. Now HDFS block is much larger, it is about 64 MB. So when you try to write 64 MB into the file system, first it has to access the local file system. Operating system will access the 64 MB block by block, just whatever is the block of the file system block, and then once the operating system gets those blocks, it will transfer the data to the disk by disk block. So there are three levels, right? HDFS block size is high, file system block, and disk block, right? Any questions here? Yeah. Right. I mean, even though you transfer it, finally it is the disk speed that matters at the end of the day, right? Finally you have to save it. You can buffer it in the memory, but finally the transfer happens at the disk transfer rate, which is about 512 bytes per block, and it could be 15,000 bytes per second, or it could be 100 megabits per second. Depends upon the speed of the disk. That's what it means. It's not about the disk block size, it's about the speed of the disk. The other thing that you have to understand is today, if you look at, you cannot create a terabyte file in the file system. The file systems does not support it. So when you hear, until few years ago, you can create only a file of size 2 GB only. Beyond that, you cannot create a file. But if you need to create large files, you cannot create it. Now with this block abstraction, you can essentially say and create a file with 1 terabyte. You can keep adding, or you can keep copying blocks, and then essentially the abstraction will allow you to maintain a terabyte file, which is actually nothing but splitting into 64 blocks across the data nodes. And since the block abstraction is there, it really doesn't matter where the block is, so the blocks can be moved, right? As long as the name node knows where the block is, then the block can be moved. So the replication becomes easy, and then there can be multiple copies, right? So it is easy to maintain the file system with the block abstraction. So this we have seen. We have a client application, and you have a request to open a file called foo.txt, right? And then the response will say this is going to be block 1 is assigned to add data node or set of data nodes, and then the library will be able to read that block 1 from the data node. So you have three parts here in this slide. One is the client application, second is the name node, and the third is the data node. So the name node has information about the file. So when you open a file for reading, right, through the client application, that is step number 1, you contact the name node. The name node will say this is the file name, who is the owner, this is the group, and these are the blocks, and these blocks are located in these data nodes. So that is written to the client application, and the Hadoop library will actually read block by block from the data node directly. Okay, because the application Hadoop or the client application has got the location of the blocks and the data node addresses. That's why it can be directly, right? So this is for writing. I think this slide is used multiple times. So when you try to write a file into name node, first the file entry is created, right? First the file entry is created, and it will return the list of data nodes where it can copy. It will return the list of data nodes where it can copy. So then the Hadoop library will write the block 1 to data node 1, and while the block is finished, while you write the block completely, right, parallelly, if there is a replication factor, this data node will get another data node, because the name node has given the list of data nodes to write into. So this data node will find its adjacent data node and transfer that data parallelly to the next data node. So in this case, if the replication factor is 3, there will be 3 copies. So client application opens the file for writing, an entry in the name node is created, and name node returns the list of data nodes where the file has to be written. So that list of data nodes are here. They are passed to the first data node. So first data node, you write the file, right? Parallelly, after some blocks are written into data node. When I say blocks, it's not HDFS blocks. It will be file system blocks. Okay, once they are written in data node, parallelly, this data node will copy that same data to another data node, and then the next data node will also do copy to another data node. This is called pipelining for write, right? So now if there are 3 copies, you will see 3 data nodes being written. Then the last data node will actually have to acknowledge the one next to it. You see that step number 5. So the last data node in the series, in the pipeline, has to acknowledge that it has received all the data. Similarly, the middle one has to acknowledge that it has received the data using step number 6, and then finally the data node that it is first contacted has to acknowledge to the client library saying that it has accepted and written the data to the disk. Then finally the client application has to close the file. When you close the file, name node makes that file available to other users. Until then it will not be available. Is there a question here? So this is done for highly efficient transfer, especially in case we have multiple replication factors. So it's called pipeline writing. So again, when you open a file for writing, the name node will mark that file and give the list of data nodes that the file has to be written. Then the Hadoop library will contact the data nodes and keep writing. So the first data node will receive the first block, and then after few file system blocks are written, the same data is copied over to the next 2 data nodes in a pipeline fashion. And then once all the data is written, the acknowledgement is written to the Hadoop library, and then Hadoop library has to close the file. That is when the name node will make this particular file available to other users in the system.
Why blocks are not written in parallel? Like block 1 can be written to node 1, data node 1, block 2 can be written to data node 2.
No, it is actually parallel. You will see that. Okay, so what is happening here? We have illustrated the picture for one block only. Okay, but this whole thing can be parallelly happening for multiple blocks. Okay, so what is illustrated here is one block is replicated across the data nodes because the replication factor is 3. So it does not mean that there is a second block which is also getting replicated. So that there is a parallel activity that can be happening if you have more than one block of data. Okay. Because if you try to copy this way, it's going to take a lot of time. So there has to be this whole picture. If you see the last 3 blocks, data node, data node, data node, there will be multiple such data nodes. So there will be multiple such blocks being copied parallelly. What we are only saying is within a block 1, within just if you're looking at only for one block, this is the process. So the block has to be completely written and it is pipelined for other data nodes. And it has to be for other data nodes. It has to become. And then,
so is it possible that 2 blocks can be written at the same time in single data node?
Yes, it is possible.
It is possible. Okay. And one more thing is like how it is decided that which which data node to be written first.
So a name node knows about the capacity of the data node because data node sends the messages in the heartbeat that it has so many blocks and it has so much of free space available. That is the capacity of the data node. So the name node has all that information. So the name node uses heuristics to decide where to copy the data. Heuristics means that it has some algorithm where it will say, okay, this data node is right now probably 80% full. Let me put this data onto this data node. So that's how it works. So even if name node fails to balance the copy of data nodes, at some point it is going to happen that there may be imbalance in terms of how many blocks are stored by what data node. So one data node may be storing few, other data node may be storing few millions of blocks. In that case, how to make sure it is balancing is happening. So name node transparently once in a while initiates a block balancing process. During that time, the blocks will be moved across the data nodes so that the whole cluster is well balanced. Sometimes the administrator can also initiate a balancer using a start balancer command, start balancer.sh command. There is a command in DFS admin balancer, so you can set a threshold in terms of when you want to start. What is the threshold in terms of the blocks? I think there is a little documentation. I can show it later on that. So administrator can also force start a balancing algorithm which will balance the distribution of blocks across the data nodes. So this we have seen, so HDFS data node we have seen. So yeah. So no, you can through threads but not through one client. So you will have to insert multiple clients. So it will say file already exists exception. It will not allow you to create the file. No. You can delete it. You can delete it and create it. Yeah. So this is another important slide for administrators, right? And we know that the Hadoop file system. I'm hoping that Ashok might have covered this, but it is good to remember what he has covered. So the name node maintains a copy of the whole file system meta information. Okay, it is not the data of the files. It is about which file is having how many blocks and where these blocks are located who is the owner, what time it was created, and what is the directory it is residing. So that information is stored in the name node. Okay, so that is important. That is first point. Second point, name node does checkpointing from memory to disk once in a while. So it means that, let's say, assume that it is checkpointing every 2 hours, right? What it means is, when I create a file on Hadoop file system, it will make the entries in the memory copy. So there is a file called fsimage. So that is the file that contains all the metadata about the file system. So this fsimage is loaded into the memory. Okay. Now if within 1 hour, if I create, let's say in the next 2 hours, let's assume that the checkpointing is 2 hours. We'll understand what checkpointing is. So in the next 2 hours, I keep adding lots of files into this system. So name node will not copy the meta information to the disk immediately. It will wait for the checkpointing time. So for the next 2 hours, it will be updating the memory copy of this metadata information. So that memory copy is in the name node. So when the name node is started, fsimage is loaded and there is a memory copy, and if you keep adding files for the next 2 hours, the memory copy is updated. So if, for example, the name node crashes before checkpointing, right? So let's assume that after checkpointing, the copy of the memory and the disk are synchronized. So the copy which is there in the memory is copied to the disk after checkpointing. But just before checkpoint, right, if the name node crashes, then whatever you have added for the past 2 hours is lost, right? Whatever you have added for the past 2 hours is lost. So in order to avoid that, there is a secondary name node, and there is also something called as edit log files. So this concept is important. So what name node does is, it does two things. One, when you create files continuously for the next 2 hours, it will make the in-memory copy. That is point number 1. Point number 2, not only it makes the in-memory copy, it creates something called edit logs. Okay, edit logs. So you can see that there is, what is this edit logs are? Whatever is being copied in the next 2 hours is maintained in a separate file called edit logs. The reason why edit logs is separate is because if you want to copy, let's say if the file size of the fsimage file is about, let's say 3 GB and the memory copy is 3 GB. So if you want to do checkpointing frequently, writing 3 GB into disk is quite expensive as opposed to writing small number of bytes. Hence what the name node, what the design is, the designers or the architects have designed in such a way that the name node will not frequently do checkpointing. Instead, it will keep the copy in the memory, update it in the memory, but whatever is updated will be pushed to the edit logs. Whatever is updated is pushed to the edit logs. So this edit logs will maintain the files that have copied for the next 2 hours, right? This incremental copies, incremental values that are updated in the name node are copied into the edit log files. So these edit log files are there. So even if the name node crashes, next time when the name node is started again, it will read the disk copy of the fsimage, and it will also read the edit logs and merge these two files into one, and then the name node will enter into regular mode. So during this process, the name node enters into safe mode. What is safe mode? Safe mode is a mode where it will not allow the users to access the file system unless it completes the merging of edit logs and the memory copy and the fsimage which is in the disk into the memory. It will also wait for all the data nodes to report and send the block report Once the block report is assigned, once the block report has come and it verifies all the block report, then only the name node will become available to the rest of the users in the system. Okay. So in this slide, forget about secondary name node. I will talk about it in a minute. For now, what we said is the name node is going to maintain a copy of the whole file system in the memory and its file system in the memory. Okay. This file system, the whole file system is also inside a small file called fsimage. That is the fsimage file, and any incremental updates are stored in the edit logs. And once in a while checkpointing is done, but if before checkpointing, if the name node crashes, right, next time when the name node comes up, it merges the disk copy and the edit logs to recreate the file system which was there few minutes ago. Now what is the function of the secondary name node? So this creating this edit logs and merging it and checkpoint is a quite expensive affair. So designers have decided, okay, since it is expensive in terms of saving these edit logs and merging it once in a while, they thought, okay, let's put a helper to it. So that is called secondary name node. So what secondary name node is? It sometimes it gets a copy of fsimage from name node, right? Then it loads, it merges and then sends the new copy to the name node, and the name node will upgrade its new copy in the memory, and then the name node can just move the new edit, whatever has been added since the secondary name node started, that log file is moved to the next edit log file. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, almost.
So again, you have to remember this is a very important point, especially for the administrators. fsimage is the heart of the file system, Hadoop file system, and name node is the node this is where you will spend most of the time, especially when the lot of disks and all crashes or the cluster crashes. This is where you will be spending most of the time. So it's important to understand this. Even though it takes time, it's important to understand this. This is a conceptual stuff. Okay. So again, remember there are two important points. The name node, the name node has two copies at any time if it is running. One is the disk copy, the other one is the in-memory copy. This copy is generally stale in the sense that it doesn't have the latest updates on the memory. So instead, name node decides to keep the latest updates in the incremental updates in a separate file called edits. Or edit logs. So once in a while, checkpointing is done. The edit file is merged into the memory copy. Okay. Now, since the name node is the only master across thousands of nodes, generally it is very busy. Because if lots of jobs are happening, lots of people are asking for data nodes, file locations, creation of files. So if name node is so busy, then it will not have time to do checkpointing. So the designers have decided to do, let us create a secondary name node. Mostly this name node may reside in some other machine. So what this name node does is it will just ask for the copy, in-memory copy, and will ask for the edit logs, and then those two are merged and the new copy is sent to the name node periodically. This is what happens. Okay. So so this we have seen. So I think one question that people will ask was, when data node is writing data into file system in terms of blocks, how does it write? Suppose if the file has, let's say, 20,000 blocks, is it going to write all the files in one directory? Right? That is a question that people will ask. So the answer is, it uses, you will see the fifth bullet point here, it uses the heuristics to determine optimal number of files for directory and creates directories appropriately. Okay, so internally how it does is, it does not matter, but the name node maintains the hierarchical file system. Okay, and how the data nodes are stored is up to the data node. How the blocks are stored is up to the data node. So if the data node is receiving large number of blocks, it may decide to keep these blocks at multiple directories related to one file. That's what it says. That's what it means. So we have seen these commands again. Hadoop FS copy from local to the Hadoop file system, copy from HDFS to local system, listing files, making directories. Right. So Hadoop file system is one implementation. There are other implementations. So we have seen that you can also query using a local file system, that is fs.local file system. What it means is that based on your cluster, you can also see basically what we are saying between the device and the socket itself. Similarly, Hadoop file system, this file system abstraction allows, you can think of file system abstraction as a socket, right? Now in this socket, you can use Hadoop file system or local file system or S3 file system or FTP file system, right? So that's how it works. So what the designers have decided is, let us expose the abstract concept called file system, and let's implement a distributed file system using Hadoop file system, which is like one device connected to the socket. If somebody wants to use S3 file system, which is there in Amazon Cloud, that will be another device. You just plug into the same socket. So the interface is same. So instead of writing into distributed Hadoop file system, what we discussed, it will be writing into Amazon S3 file system. That's what it means. Any questions here?
Could you please repeat?
Okay. So I was trying to give you an analogy where, let's say you have a power socket at home and you try to buy multiple devices. You have got your television, you have got your iron box, you have got your computer. All of them are multiple devices, but they come to the same power socket. Similarly, in Hadoop file system, the design is such a way that file system is abstracted. So the file system API is the socket. You can say the power socket. It is the interface. It is the contract. Now you want to plug in different kinds of devices into this power socket. Similarly, you want to plug in different kinds of file systems into the socket. So one example of a file system is Hadoop distributed Hadoop file system or Hadoop file system. So this is one file system which can fit into the socket as long as you are using the same socket API or same file system API. Similarly, if you don't want to use Hadoop file system, if you want to use, let's say, Amazon Cloud's S3 file system, right? You have to plug in this implementation of S3 file system onto the socket. So, but the interface is same. So the cluster, Hadoop cluster, name node, everything will remain. Everything will work as it is, except that you're just using a different file system. So instead of the files being copied locally, the files will be there in the file system that is mentioned here. So for example, in case of S3, it will be in Amazon Cloud and the files are in S3. So when you say S3, so S3 is a persistent storage. It's a service provided by Amazon Cloud. Okay. And it is not stored locally. So the data nodes, right? They don't store the data in their local file system. They will not be able to specify. They will specify the data nodes will store the data in the S3 file system. That's what it means. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So there are different API interfaces: Java API, Thrift API, WebDAV, HTTP, FTP. These are the different interfaces that are used to access the file system. So this is a small program mostly for Java developers. So you can, it's a Java program that is trying to create a new file. So create a new file, actually trying to open a existing file. It's a new URL. So don't worry about it. This is mostly Java related stuff. Again, the same Java program is continuing, and then how to read and write, right? How to read and write data into the file system using programming interface through Java. So this we have seen. We don't need to do this, and then this also we have seen. Read, in the other picture we have seen that. Okay, so now read we have not seen. That is right also. So read, basically, again it's one more time. So you HDFS client opens, right? The name node returns. It does open on a distributed file system, and then the name node returns the list of all block locations, and then little bit internal detail. The HDFS client will use the Java API or the Java library. In that library you have a FS data input stream. So it will go contact the data nodes and then